I nestled into the chair next to them, crossing my legs, my fingers lightly brushing against the edge of my glass. They began to move in unison, initially unsure, but gradually discovering a harmonious flow. She inhaled sharply, his hands leading her, his touch measured and intentional. I breathed out, a gentle warmth enveloping me as I observed. I had intended to remain an observer, yet the more time I spent in that position, the more difficult it became to hold back. Your support truly contributes to the growth of the channel, and if you've already joined us, thank you for being a part of this journey. Let's dive in. I honestly can't recall what it's like to be with a man anymore. She let out a deep breath, settling into the couch. I chuckled, swirling my glass of wine. That is truly heartbreaking. She let out a frustrated sigh. Indeed, it has been several months, possibly even a year. I gently shook my head. That's not something I would do. I doubt I could go a week without being intimate with my husband. She let out an exasperated sigh. Understood. We acknowledge it. You hit the jackpot with your husband. A sly smile crept across my face. I certainly did, however. The man understands precisely how to engage with a woman. She exhaled deeply. That sounds quite pleasant. I inclined my head, observing her intently. She appeared utterly depleted, not merely fatigued, but hollow. Perhaps she longed for companionship, yet I sensed there was something deeper at play, something more tangible. Perhaps that is the issue at hand. I pondered. Her brow furrowed in discontent. What issue? I leaned in a bit. You believe your feelings stem from your divorce, but perhaps what you truly need is a partner who understands how to navigate relationships effectively. Her head jerked upward, eyes filled with surprise. Beg your pardon? I simply smiled, savoring another sip. You really wouldn't need to search. She fluttered her eyelids. What does that signify? I allowed the quiet to linger before I finally broke the stillness with my words. How about I let you borrow mine? Her breath caught in her throat. Are you serious? I simply maintained my smile. Later that day, we found ourselves entwined in bed, skin glistening, our bodies resonating with the lingering warmth of intimacy. I extended my limbs, letting my fingers glide softly across his chest, reveling in the contentment that only he could provide. That was incredible, I whispered. He wore a sly grin, his eyes partially closed. As is customary. I allowed the quiet to stretch, permitting the warmth to envelop us both. Then, in a relaxed manner, I remarked, she requires this. His brow knitted in concentration. Who is it? My companion, I remarked, lifting myself onto one elbow. She feels desolate and isolated. It seems she simply craves a sense of being desired once more. He furrowed his brow, remaining perplexed. So? I ran my fingers lightly across his abdomen, sensing his breath catch in his throat. Perhaps you might lend a hand? His body became rigid. Are you really being serious right now? I gave a slight nod. This is essential for her. And you. You truly understand how to bring joy to a woman. He let out a breath, his hand moving to his face in a weary gesture. I'm uncertain. I drew closer, my lips brushing against his jawline. I would be present, observing, directing. His breath faltered. His hesitation was palpable, yet there was an undeniable spark of curiosity within him. Do you have faith in me? I murmured. His fingers danced at my waist, his grip firming just a touch. I sensed that he was already mine. The following morning, I brewed coffee while my husband shuffled into the kitchen, still half asleep. I suggested we invite her over, passing him a mug. His brow furrowed. As our eyes locked, I felt a connection. To converse. He paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. And by converse, you imply. A sly smile crept across my face. Just wait and see. A moment of stillness. He let out a breath, his fingers trailing along the nape of his neck. Yet, he refrained from saying no. That sufficed. The text has been sent. She responded in no time at all. Absolutely, I would appreciate the company. Upon her arrival, she appeared. Exhausted. As if she still bore the burden of something unseen. Yet her eyes sparkled with clarity, brimming with curiosity. We settled into our seats, cups of coffee cradled in our hands. I allowed the moment to linger before gently tilting my head. I've been reflecting on our conversation. She cast me a furtive look. Perhaps. A smile graced my lips. And she let out a deep sigh. I understand your point. However, it's not particularly simple to merely. She waved her hand in an indistinct manner. I inclined my body just a bit. What if it were? Her brows knitted together. Could you clarify what you mean? I extended my hand to my husband's wrist, gently gliding my fingers across his skin. Her gaze darted back and forth between us. We wish to offer our assistance, I whispered. Stillness. She opened and closed her eyes slowly. You mean business? I acknowledged with a nod. She gulped. Her eyes darted between us, seeking something elusive. I maintained her gaze. Do you have faith in me? A lengthy silence. At last, she placed her coffee on the table. What precisely are you proposing? A smile graced my lips. Allow me to demonstrate. I guided them into the bedroom, my breath calm, my heartbeat a gentle rhythm beneath my skin. Yet within, I was aflame. She trailed behind with uncertainty. Her movements were deliberate, hesitant. My husband, in contrast, entered with a subtle tension in his posture, as if he were still grappling with the reality of what was about to unfold. I was fully aware of my actions. I approached him first, letting my fingers glide down his chest, slowly removing his shirt with intentional grace. His breathing grew deeper, muscles tensing subtly beneath my fingers. Then I confronted her. She remained motionless, suspended in a delicate balance of eagerness and uncertainty. Her lips opened slightly, as though anticipating a signal. I grinned, my fingers gliding over her shoulders, playfully brushing against the material of her top. She remained close. I allowed myself the luxury of time. The initial garment fell to the ground, followed by another. The atmosphere grew heavier. My husband extended his hand towards her, his movements measured and intentional. His uncertainty lingered, yet his touch remained unwavering. She breathed out unsteadily, melting into his embrace, allowing him to lead her. I took a step back, settling into the chair next to the bed, observing the way his hands roamed over her, noting her reactions, the soft gasps that escaped her lips. I folded my legs, feeling a surge of warmth radiate within me. This was exactly what I desired, to witness him in this state, to observe her in this moment, to sense the tension winding tighter, more intense as I gazed on. His lips explored her neck, descending further, his hands outlining her contours. She curved beneath him, her form responding to each caress, every deliberate motion. I moved slightly, feeling a warmth envelop me, my breath becoming quick and shallow. My fingers brushed against the hem of my dress, the warmth between my legs transforming into a gradual, throbbing ache. In that moment, I whispered softly, my tone gentle and supportive. Be patient with her. Indeed, he did. His lips descended softly, gliding over her skin, his hands firm as he led her back onto the mattress. She surrendered to him, a gentle breath slipping from her mouth, her fingers entwining in his hair. I traced my fingertips gently along my bare thigh, the electrifying sensation igniting another surge of desire within me. Her beauty was captivating. He was as well. And together, they became an even more captivating force. I drew languid, gentle circles against the delicate skin under my dress, playfully enticing myself, syncing with the cadence of their actions. Her breath caught as his hand moved lower, a sharp inhale escaping her lips. Her fingers pressed into his shoulders, her body quivering under his caress. I bit my lip, my breath coming in fits, as I observed her yield to him. Do you enjoy the way he caresses you? I inquired, my tone silky and playful. She remained silent, offering no verbal response. Yet, the way her breath caught, the way she held on to him, it spoke volumes. The atmosphere was alive with sound, each movement measured and intentional, warmth pulsing in the air around them. I had imagined I could simply remain here, merely observe, merely relish. Yet, as the tension escalated and the pleasure intensified between them, a new realization dawned on me. Restlessness was creeping in, and I found myself questioning how much longer I could remain an observer. I felt an intense heat consuming me. The heat within me had risen to an overwhelming level. The tension coiled like a spring, ready to snap. Each look, each inhale, every gentle noise that enveloped the space intensified the struggle to remain an observer. I no longer wished to continue. I stood from the chair, moving nearer, allowing my fingertips to brush against my husband's arm. His breath caught, and his eyes met mine, profound and inscrutable. She turned, her expression a blend of uncertainty and an underlying eagerness. A slow smile crept across my face, filled with understanding. "Move up," I whispered, my fingers gliding through his hair as I gently encouraged him to lean back against the pillows. He complied without hesitation, his chest heaving with each breath, his body taut under my hand. Then I faced her. "Approach," I murmured gently, my tone rich with affection, filled with assurance. She paused, her breath coming in fits and starts. Yet she chose to follow. She adjusted herself, fitting perfectly against him, her form conforming to his as he held her steady, his hands secure at her sides. I observed, absorbing the rhythm of their movements, the unspoken connection shared, the palpable energy vibrating among us all. Then I ascended onto the bed, placing myself above him, my hands resting on his shoulders. His breath caressed my skin, igniting a shiver that danced along my spine. I leaned in closer, my hands gently touching her arms, providing support, leading her along. In that moment, I softly murmured against her lips, gently guiding her chin to face me. "I'm here to assist you." She breathed out quickly as I brought my lips to hers, savoring the warmth that still clung to her skin. She surrendered to me, her fingers wrapping around my waist, allowing me to take charge, allowing me to guide. I intensified the kiss, my hands gliding to her sides, guiding her to discover the rhythm, establishing the tempo. She mirrored my movements, her body flowing in harmony with mine, our breaths intertwining. Below me, my partner let out a low groan, his fingers digging into my back as he drew me nearer. A sudden surge of heat coursed through me, causing me to inhale sharply against her lips. I wove my fingers through her hair, angling her head to intensify the kiss. The delicate texture of her skin, the response of her body under my touch, intensified the flames of desire within me. The atmosphere was thick with tension, each of us balancing precariously on the brink, the anticipation coiling tighter with every movement, every touch, every sound. Her breath became erratic, her hold on me growing firmer. My husband's hands curled at my sides, his body tightening beneath us. It was a lot to take in. The energy wound tightly, fierce and all-encompassing, until at last it released its grip. A wave of warmth enveloped me, my body quivering, my breath hitching in quick, fragmented gasps. Their tension enveloped me, the gravity of the moment saturating the air, infusing the space with a palpable warmth and a sense of fulfillment. For an extended pause, we all remained still. The atmosphere was heavy with heat, our forms intertwined, our breaths irregular. Then I sank onto the bed, stretching leisurely, a slow, contented smile spreading across my face. She released a nervous chuckle, running her fingers through her disheveled hair. My husband let out a deep breath, his arm resting over my stomach, his hold firm and protective even after everything that had just happened. I shifted my gaze, looking back and forth between them, my heart pounding in my chest. I intended to offer her something meaningful, to provide assistance, yet I was unprepared for the sheer delight it would bring me as well. I found myself uncertain about whether I wanted this to be the final moment. The morning light seeped through the curtains, creating a soft radiance that illuminated the messy sheets and the gentle rhythm of steady breaths. I extended my limbs with a languid grace, my form still resonating with the echoes of the previous night. Next to me, my husband shifted, his arm resting protectively around my waist. On the other side, she moved, her fingers lightly grazing my skin in a distracted manner. A serene comfort enveloped me, free from any hint of awkwardness or regret, as a gentle warmth nestled deep within my bones. I shifted my gaze, looking back and forth between them, a subtle smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. Last night had revolved around her, about providing her with something essential, but now I understood more clearly. I found this experience equally delightful, perhaps even more so. As I drew gentle circles on my husband's chest, a certainty settled within me. This was far from the end. I convinced myself this was solely for her, merely a means to assist. However, at this moment, my certainty has waned. Is this an endeavor that only the daring would have the courage to pursue? Or are there some secrets that should remain shrouded in darkness? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I seek to understand all viewpoints. If you found this enjoyable, please consider liking, subscribing, and enabling notifications. What comes next is something you definitely won't want to overlook. Until next time.